Today's guest is one that we're super excited about having on the show. He is the epitome of an Aussie bloke, having spent 12 years on the tools as a boilermaker. He was stuck in a rut, so decided to chase a new career, and in my opinion, is the best Masterchef 2021 contestant out there. But first and foremost, he's a loving father and husband. He's Brent Draper. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure. It is.
So, thanks for coming on. I need to tell the story of how this sort of chance happening came about. Basically, Monday night, we were sitting there, me and my wife, watching MasterChef, and your whole segment, which we'll get into a bit later, basically happened. And me and my wife were just sitting there gobsmacked. She was actually crying. I was very close to tearing up just because I could see a guy who was like, it was showed on your face the kind of pain that you were in, and that you needed to just get home and feel that comfort of home life. And it really struck me. And I just thought he seems just like one of those blokes in the lead up to that point in the show. He seemed like one of those blokes that just has it all together. But on the inside was just battling something that was too hard to deal with. And so I basically just slid into your DMs, as Nathan calls it, and took a chance and basically just told you how I felt and how the reaction and how we were sort of taken aback by the episode. And straight away, you pretty much wrote back and said, "Oh, I'd love to come on the show." And I was just like, I said to Nathan straight away, I was like, "Do you watch MasterChef? Brent, he said he's going to come on the show." And we're like, "Well, let's push him up to this week then." We'll knock back who else was going to be on, because it just became something that was so fitting and so perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's just collided with men's mental
Health Week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird that sort of all happened, and this all sort of, it wasn't like, planned. It just sort of all happened, and this episode come out, and this, so, it was probably really eye-opening thing for a lot of people, especially myself, going through it. Like, I never knew that this stuff happens, and I just never really understood it properly. And, how, like you said, on the outside, got it all together, but on the inside, just really, ready to snap and ready to really, unwind really bad. But yeah, I thought I love when you, like, what you guys are all about, pushing the message. So yeah, I was straight away to the wife who organises my whole life. Let's rock and roll. Let's get this message out there, and let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome. So
how long ago was that filmed?
Yeah, so it was probably around 3 months ago. So so really, when you come off the show, you're supposed to really pretend that you've just come off, you're fresh.
The magic of TV.
Yeah. So mine was a little different. We, with the team, they were like, you got to get off, and when you get off, you got to say the truth. You got to let them know that you've been out for 3 months. You've done what you had to do to, get back on track. Because otherwise it would just look so, fake, and so, it wouldn't have been taken as well with the public. So, normally so it is 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. Since
So we'll get into that a little bit more, but I'd love to get to know the real Brent Draper a little bit more than just what we've seen on MasterChef and on the interviews recently. Do you want to take us back to your childhood and tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'll say, like, what you see is what you get. Like, I'm a terrible actor, so that's me. So I grew up in the country town of Bow Desert, little like a NRL footy, not AFL. Little footy town, bunch of farmers, and then you've got just a bunch of rat bags, running around bored because it's such a little town. Grew up, like, great little family. Grew up on a farm, so had plenty of stuff to do all the time. Just, running around with, as a kid, like, I think my 3 best mates was a cockatiel, a cow, and my dog. So, that was my 3 good mates when I was growing up. And then did a bit of traveling with the family up to Catherine, lived up there for a little bit. and then come back down to Bow Desert, and until I was, I think, maybe 17, had enough of the small town vibe and went into the Brisbane city and lived in there, and then met my beautiful wife, who sort of, pulled the reins in, cleaned me up a little bit. And then, we moved down to the Gold Coast, and, that was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And, the best decision I've ever done moving down here. Just the vibe of the Gold Coast, especially the southern side, where we live is right on the border of New South Wales and Queensland. Epic. Like this is God's country here.
Yeah.
This is, you got Byron Bay just 30 minutes down the road. And then you got the Gold Coast City, 30 minutes north. So I think it's the best place in the world to live. And the surf, obviously. And so I just, still boiler making down here. Just, I loved it. That's why I did it. And then I just got to a point a couple of years ago where I was just like really struggling with, like, I was worried that I'm going to waste my life, being stuck in something, because I didn't know anything else. What else was out there? Because once you learn a trade, what else do you know, sort of thing? It's not like, if I was to do another trade, for example, I'd have to do an apprenticeship again.
Yeah.
Like I can't just sort of jump between. Well, that's how I thought. I couldn't just jump between things. Like, if you're a real estate agent, you could probably sell cars, and you could probably do this, and you could probably, your sales, everything. So I felt really, really trapped. And it's, I know a lot of my mates are going through the same thing. Like, is this all we're going to do for the rest of our life? So I got to that point in my life, I think it was about when I hit 30. And then the little fella come along, and that's when it sort of like ramped up again. I was like, I'm going to be this sort of thing I'm molding. I'm going to be telling him to go for his dreams and, go hard, I'll back you. But then he was looking at me doing something I don't like anymore every day, Monday to Friday, fanging for the weekend, and then getting sort of, all sad again on Sunday afternoon because I've got to do it again. So that was really grinding me for a long, long time. I think hence why, there was like 30 seconds of absolute madness when I just said, I'm just signing up to MasterChef because I love to cook. I'm just 30 seconds, and I did it. And when I hit send, I'm just like, you know what? As if it's ever going to happen, she'll be right. And then obviously, it wasn't right. They got back in contact with me, and then I was like, oh God, what have I done? Like I've known the same thing for so long, and now I'm going like this crazy other pathway. What the hell have I done? But I guess, I've always sort of lived, like I always believe that, when you're doing something really uncomfortable, great things come of it. So, and my wife's always drilled it into me. She's such an amazing woman. So I'm so lucky to have someone like that next to me. And her just always telling me like, the same thing. When you're uncomfortable and you're doing things, great things will come. So I just kept trucking along on the MasterChef vibe, and then I guess we got to here.
It's a really cool mantra to go by, I reckon. And it's definitely true. Like if you're comfortable in a situation, then you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as cooking goes, like, were you always a fan of cooking? You said you loved to cook, but was that like a thing that came about from wanting to find change, or was that just something you already loved?
So pretty much the cooking, it come from, we used to live in this house. There was 4 apprentices, and we were eating like crap just all the time, like KFC, Macca's, like it was just terrible. And one day, and we were on like $350 a week, so I don't know how we were affording it. One day I just said to them, I'm like, boys, like I'm going to learn how to cook. I'll cook, you buy the groceries, and I don't have to put in for that. And then we'll just see what happens. And the more I did it, the more I was like, I actually like this, and I'm really stitching them up because I enjoy this, and they've still got to pay for it. So I'll just keep going on it. Obviously, back then there was no YouTube. There was no like what we got today. So it was like, what's his name? Hughesy.
Hi.
Oh yeah, the big unit.
Yeah, the cooking adventures.
Yeah,
That's all.
Huey.
Huey, that's you. Yeah. So I was like doing big casserole dishes and all the things he loved to cook. I always joke that I used to be able to turn savoury mince into 11 different dishes and like just wild stuff like that. And bulk too, like good quality bulk food, so we could have it for like, a couple of days for work.
That's hilarious.
Obviously, it refined a lot from there. Got a lot better, and yeah, I just knew I loved to do it, and if you do something every day, you just get better and better. So that's sort of how I made it from savoury mince to what I was doing on the show.
That's great. I was just thinking, I don't think Huey would last on TV these days. I remember the amount of salt that he used to put in his dishes. He'd be there for 10 minutes, cracking salt into his. Maybe a bit more salt. I used to laugh at that.
He found it right at the right time, I think.
Yeah.
Is he still alive? Shit, am I allowed to say that? I think he is. He would be.
He would be. A national treasure. So what was MasterChef? Was being on the show, was it stressful? Like, I'm assuming that's where we got to, but like in those last few weeks, especially, like what was that like?
Yeah, look, it's obviously stressful. It's a funny one because you sort of get put in this bubble, or you think you're in this bubble, and you've got, like, I was always thinking like, this is my one shot, this is my biggest shot to get out of the trades. Like I can't stuff this up, so you're just putting everything on the line, and like, the emotion you see on the show, that's legit. Like people aren't just banging it on because they want to try to get further or anything like that. That's them cooking for their passion. They're so it's all legit, and like that's what I was thinking mainly. I was like, I need to get like all the way to the end. For something has to come of this. You don't get this opportunity very long. This is my one shot to break out of the trade life and into something else. So there was immense pressure just from that.
And is that pressure you put on yourself, right?
Yeah, that's the pressure I put on myself. And then you've got like the pressure of the kitchen, and it's just the way it's set up it needs, like, come on, it's TV. It needs the pressure. Like, otherwise, it's all cooking mad dishes and we'll finish with 10 minutes to go. No one will watch.
Yeah.
It's just just the pressure side of things. It was like a bit of me, a bit of the show, but like there was a lot more sort of under the surface that I hadn't dealt with, that sort of crept up and popped its ugly face up right at the end there.
And what is so before MasterChef, had you kind of like, apart from like hating your job really, like had you dealt with any mental health, or did you think you were otherwise perfectly fine, or what was your history with mental health?
Yeah, look, it was a funny one. Like I grew up and it was just always, you'll be right.
Country footy, yeah.
Footy, you gotta be like tougher than the guy next to you. You always, the guys underneath you are looking up to you, and you're looking up the grade or the couple of grades up above. So it was always like, sort of just, brush yourself off. But then I met my wife, and she was like, she's like, so, open to all this. And she sort of started to unpeel me like, I was like, I was a brown onion. I was just sort of getting sort of layer by layer. But I think because I never really, I thought that I never really suffered with it, because I was just one of those guys that just always happy. That I think I didn't, like, I would meditate. And I know surfing always made me happy and those sort of things, but I don't think I really understood it enough to like, it's very serious. I sort of just like, I feel, I'm pretty happy today, or I'm pretty sad, I just never really understood it.
Yep.
No one ever taught me growing up, like how important it is and how, you know, it can really get you.
Yep.
Well, one of the things that I guess he's kind of become our mentor in this space, as Gus Warland has always said, he's trying to change the wording to mental fitness rather than mental health, because everyone's scared of the term mental health and they think that is something that is an afterthought and that's what you deal with when you're going through shit. But he wants to build this mental fitness side of things that's like, well, you can just work on it like you go to the gym every week.
Yeah, prevention rather than
cure.
Yeah.
And he bangs on to us every time an episode comes out and we mention mental health, and he's like, change it to mental fitness. And we're like, okay, we'll try.
Yeah. I totally agree, because I think, like, when you say mental health, it just sort of, like, I don't know whether it's been said that many times or, you know, it's just, it has this weird, like, you're struggling already, like, even if you say mental health. And essentially mental health is like, it's either good or it's bad. It's not like you have mental health. It's like, it's, you know, we've made it almost sound, when you say mental health, you're like, oh, you just think negative straight away.
It's got a stigma about it all, and that, I think that's a big part of what the Mental Health Week and everything else is happening right now, which you've kind of totally by accident become one of the faces of. How is that?
Yeah, like, if you had told me what, like, the you know, the people reaching out to me and all that the day after it happened, I would have just, like, laughed, because, you know, I just did it for myself because I thought there was nothing else I could do. I need to get out of this place. And then to see what's come of it, and, you know, the amazing messages and comments that all over the world, like, we're not even talking Australia, talking like South America, Greenland.
Wow.
I don't know how they're watching it, because it's not even, you know, it's not even there yet. Like,
I hear you're big in Greenland. I've heard it.
Yeah, I think it's the Viking thing or something.
The Nordics.
Yeah, like, just to hear the comments and messages coming out, and, like, that's what's made me so, like, I need to share my story. I need to tell everything and open up, because we need to, like, crack this stigma, because it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of people that are, like, hiding it and scared to talk to, like, their best friends, their wife, their husbands, their parents. And for me now, I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, we've made this thing up in our heads how bad it is if I tell my mate how I'm struggling. Now that I've done it to the world. Like, it's not that bad. Only, like, I've just, the minute I talked to Jock on the show, I couldn't, like, I don't know if you could hear my voice on the show, and I couldn't talk properly, because there was like, there was all this emotion there, and I'm trying to talk to him, and he's seen it, and he's sort of, you know, struggling too. The minute I told him, I just felt this, like, oh, okay, they all know now. That's I've just told them, they know I'm struggling. And then we walked back up, and I could talk to the gantry. I could talk then. I was like, I just had to, like, spew it out and say, I'm struggling, like, I'm stuffed. And the minute I'd done it, I was just like, oh, not great, but, like, I can breathe now.
Yeah. Well, I think, we can totally relate to that, can't we? Kind of me in particular, having a bad battle with depression and just trying to bottle up. And I think, what's his Brent's awesome quote? If you're not speaking, you're storing it, and storing it gets heavy. I just thought that was such an amazing line, because I was the same. I was ready just to pack it all in, because I couldn't handle it. And then the moment I opened up, which happened to be on this podcast, really. So I don't know if we've reached Greenland levels of popularity yet, but saying it once was just, like, it's so much easier to talk about. And I think that's been our mission to say, like, Gus's his mantra, "Don't worry alone," is so perfect, and what you say is exactly the same.
Yeah. Like, I heard it from a mate. Actually, a mate I told, sort of, I didn't tell many people after the show. I sort of kept it, like, I was like, I don't want to tell anyone. I want them to watch it and see it. So I told one fella I was with, I was over and visiting Perth, and he's such a tough Irish bloke, and works hard, and just, you know, gets on it, and, like, just strong. And then I told him him and his wife and my wife were sitting down for lunch, and I told him, and he, his wife looked at me and said, "Thank you for telling me," because he went through the same thing, and she'd gone back to Ireland, he'd stayed in, worked. She got stuck over there because of COVID. Apart for like 3 or 4 months, and he just broke because he just worked, like didn't speak it. And then he told me this this saying, and I was like, bro, I am stealing that because that is epic. So when he said it to me, I'm like, that's it. That's it in 3 sentences. That's what we got to stop.
Yeah, wow. That's so powerful.
So, I mean, for those who didn't see it, listeners, and I don't know if Nathan, if you watched it live, you probably watched it back now, but basically it was on a Monday night's episode, so it was mid pressure test or something, one of those really tough challenges that was tough on the mind and the body as well. And Brent basically got halfway through and just said to the cameras, I've got to go home, and then walked to the corner. And Jock, who's one of the hosts, actually, who suffers from anxiety himself, came and sat down with you. And basically that was the moment when you were struggling to talk, but the words you could get out were, I need to leave, I need to go home, I need to sort my shit out. And he was so understanding, and it was so emotional, and he just looked you dead in the eyes and listened to everything you needed to say and agreed with you. And it was the perfect sort of example of how to deal with someone that is struggling. Like, you can't tell them that they're wrong or that they're okay. You've basically just got to go with them and tell them whatever you need to do, just do it.
Listen.
Yeah, and then it culminated in the final scene of him giving you his worry beads. And I thought that was just like the best, most boss move for helping someone in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. And like, as a cook myself, Jock, he's like what I look up to, and he's such a weapon, and deserves so much respect in the kitchen. He, for everyone who cooks underneath him, and for him to be on come straight down to my level and talk to me like you struggle to talk to your mates like this, yet I'm telling like this inspirational person that I look up to my problems. It's like, it doesn't get like it,
on national TV.
On national TV, yeah. I've hey, look, I was so far gone in my head that I didn't even know I was on TV anymore.
Yeah,
I was so blinkers on, and Jock helped me get off, helped me fix myself.
Wow.
And so the worry beads, I didn't let them go for the first 3 weeks when I was out. I just thought, you know what, he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to hang on to him and count them and do all the things with them. And then slowly rebuild myself.
I had to watch it back because I obviously saw it on the news, and following a whole bunch of mental health Instagram accounts, obviously saw you splashed across everywhere on Monday, and it was nice to see some reality TV that felt very real, raw, emotional, and uncut. So tell us, I was reading about you this morning, and it said you went and saw a psychologist, and then tell us what the 3 months between that conversation and this conversation right now, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so pretty much my worst day probably was when I got home. So by then I had started to get physical symptoms of the amount of stress and that my body was producing. I was starting to manifest it in different places, and one of the places was sort of my upper abdomen to the right there. And while I was down there, I was in the middle of the night, I'd be just woken up. Well, I woke up, I'm panicking, I'm just panicking, I'm sweating, my heartbeat, and I'm Googling, right?
Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. And
yeah,
I've got liver disease now, and my mind
just doesn't
want to let it go, and I'm dying. And the last 2 weeks, I was every day, I'm like, I need to get out of this place because I need to get back, and I need to see my kid. I'm not going to see my kid grow up. And with that day I landed, Sean had organised the limousine and my family, and champagne and all that to pick me up. And she seen me. She was like, I just needed to make it special. I knew you weren't in a good place, but I just needed you to know that we all had your back. And I walked in and she just looked at me and I was just like sort of grey. Because the whole plane flight, I'm just worrying. I'm skinny and she's like, you just weren't yourself. And I just looked at Alfie and he had a little sign and I was just like broke down because I'm like, I'm going to miss his whole life, just because, I wanted to be a dickhead when I was growing up and party and drink. And now I've got liver disease, and I'm struggling and I'm going to not make it to see him turn 18 and all this sort of stuff, which the mom was just like
out of control at this stage.
Yeah. It was just putting all these thoughts in. And I just, that was my hardest day because I actually seen him and her and Sean, and I was just like, this is what I'm going to leave. I've got the greatest thing in the world, the best son and the most beautiful wife, and I've just blown it. And so I laid on the couch at home, and I just and my wife is so strong. Like she knew it was anxiety. Like she knew, she's logically thinking. I'm not. I'm too far gone. And I'm just like, babe, I'm so sorry. I'm just saying all this stuff, and because I'm waiting for my doctor's appointment. I've booked it into my personal doctor that I've known and I trust very, very much. Because I've seen doctors while I was down in Melbourne. I went to the emergency room one night, stayed overnight there, got all the scans and acupuncture. I did everything down there, and it wasn't helping. It would for just the tiniest bit, and then I just drop again. So I'm thinking again, it's something else because it's not fixing, So I went and seen my doctor, and she just sat down. She knew straight away too. I'm spewing out. I've got liver disease. All this stuff, and she's gone through everything. She's like, Brent, like you don't understand. This blood count. It's like blood. Your bloods are perfect. They're better. We're going through COVID, so a lot of people are drinking. She said, and they're coming in, and their bloods are a bit funny because of the amount of alcohol people are drinking at the moment. She actually said that, and she said, yours are perfect. Yours are better than like normal. And I'm like, nah, there's something like you can't. She just went through absolutely everything. And then I remember, and like, obviously, I had the option to medicate or not. And I just don't know. I was like, do I medicate? I guess I want to. I'm not too sure. We walk out, and then I just had this bit of relief. I'm like, all right, so maybe I'm not dying. Maybe I'm sort of, maybe it is anxiety. So yeah, she got me on the mental health plan, what the doctors can get you on. And the next day I was off to see the psychologist. So the next 4 weeks it was see the doctor, psychologist. The next day, doctor, psychologist, and she just wanted to check in. She just wasn't going to do anything but just talk to me and just help me through. And then the psychologist the next day obviously opened my mind again. Like I'm like, all right, so there's that actual thing called anxiety, and I suffer from it. Like I was really suffering from it. I didn't know that. So she sort of told me what I've got to do to get back on track and guided me through it. And I was able just to let everything out to her. And before this, before Masterchef, I've sort of held on to a lot of stuff. It's only till, this episode that I've been able to just let everyone know. And that's come from that episode, and that's come from me sort of growing in that healing period to now.
Yeah.
And being like, you know what, I'm going to tell my whole story. I'll put my hand up on national TV. I need, the amount of comments coming in, I need to tell my story because people need to feel like they've got someone that to follow and do it too, and sort of hopefully have a bit of a domino effect. And it just sort of, a lot of people put their hand up and tell their loved ones. So yeah, then just doing the good things, man, just surfing daily, good quality time with the family, like quality time, like, how you can sort of spend time with them, but not really because you're sort of checked out there.
Yeah.
Instead, like Alfie's doing something, I'm just watching and like looking at his face expressions and really being in the moment. Cooking food, the mates over, just all of the things that I like value a lot, and just time, and then when I feel sort of wake up and I'm not feeling real good, telling my wife straight away, like just something's triggered me here and I'm just not feeling really good this morning, and working through it. The psychologist set me up with a bit of a toolbox, little things that I can do, and they work. They really do. It's just a matter of applying them, and bit of meditation, cold showers in the morning.
Ooh.
Just straight away. Like, it's so tough too. I mean, like, come on. I'm in Queensland, so the winters aren't that bad. I could imagine down in Melbourne it'd be a bit harder to get in a cold shower. But, I mean, it's a good thing to overcome every morning, It's like I've got to fight it every morning. I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to, and I do it. And then I get out, I'm like, I did it. I did that tough thing for the morning. And yeah, just good quality time, I think. And over the 3 months, it just got better and better.
That's great.
And so you use that 3 months to kind of, we call it the mental health tool belt. So we kind of really understand what you're saying there. So that 3 months of kind of recovery, for lack of a better word, how well did that prepare you for, you're now 6 days since your episode aired? Like, how has the last week been with your anxiety and everything else?
Yeah, that's sort of a good question, because I thought I was going to like really struggle a bit, and maybe the episode triggers some things, but I think that I just got myself so mentally prepared for it.
Yep.
But then just the amount of people that like instantly, like the minute it showed, the amount of stuff I got, like my inbox went from like 2 it goes to 99 plus on Instagram, right? So it goes 99, and it went in the first like about 2 minutes from like when my sort of bit started, and it's still at 99 plus now.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm trying to like just flick through them and just like, just not give advice, but just thank people for the support. And so the minute that happened, I was like, this is where I've got to be strong and open up. And I've been able to learn in that 3 months how to just talk and just, just speak openly. Because before I couldn't do it. Now I can do it with my mates, and I can do it with my wife. And it's, if like, I just always say when I hear something really like open come out of my mates, I get really good feeling in my life. I just get this weird like, oh, we're just like connected on a different level.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't before like, oh yeah, see the Storm got flogged last night, blah blah blah.
Yes. There's a carbon copy of what Nathan and I talked like before this show. That was our conversation. That was the basis of it. Except instead of the Storm, it was Manly.
Yeah.
But it would be, did you see the Manly game last night? Yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome. Do you want a beer? And then you'd move on, and you wouldn't actually deal with anything that needed to be dealt with. And now we feel the same. Like we're obviously super open with each other now, but when we have those mates that we are unexpected to be open with us, say something that they're not doing so well or they're struggling and they need help, it rather than the old us that would have ran away from that conversation, we just run to it now. It's like, what do you need to do? What do you want?
Yep. Definitely.
That was always our kind of mantra for this podcast, was the pub conversation that no mates want to have. And it was kind of everyone ran away from it, and we were the exact same. And now you have now become the face of kind of putting your hand up and saying you need help. It's just such an amazing story, and just such great synergy for what we've been trying to do now for how long we've been going? 14 months?
Yeah, 14 months now.
Yeah, that's unreal. I love it. Like, and you guys, and there's so many more of you guys out there just pushing it. And you can see it starting to work, and it's starting to, people are starting to really understand it, and the stigma's slowly just getting squashed, and we're going to get there. I know for sure. Like, there's going to be a time when it's just like, remember when we used to go to the pub and just talk about the footy score and,
Yeah.
that time?
Well, I think, as well, like Channel 10 have done a really good job with this, because I think, even 12, 18 months ago, they probably would never have aired this. They probably would have just said Brent's left the show for personal reasons, and really just kind of not swept it under the carpet, but it's just this conversation that can, as uncomfortable as it is, has to happen. And it's a breath of fresh air, because like you say, there's a whole bunch of people doing great work, and you're just the newest soldier on the kind of front line of that work. So amazing work, dude.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, they've done an amazing job with it. And like there's several ways you can get out of the MasterChef kitchen. Like you can just like sort of do a really shit cook and just
on your bike.
On the bike, and you probably leave for personal reasons, and nothing ever come of it, and maybe just questions and what is it. So my wife sort of talked to me before, and she said, I think it's best that you put your hand up and you really tell the truth.
Yep.
Because for then we won't have bombard of questions after it, is it your wife, is it your life at home, are you having an affair or something
drug
like
addict,
that?
Yeah,
Drug addict, whatever it is, let's just lay it out there a little bit. That way we don't get the amount of questions, and it might not, you want to get home and just recover, not get home to what's going on.
Yep.
And then obviously the more I went with my sort of getting back to being well again, the more I was like, let's just open up with this, and let's just tell the truth. And it's like, now looking back on it, it's such a, like, that's me as a character. Like, wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't really, like, if you love me, you love me. If you hate me, then, like, great. Like, I don't worry too much about that sort of stuff. And my biggest thing is, like, my little Santa mates and family. All I care about is what they think of me, and I know, like, they're so stoked and proud of what I've done. So that's why it made me, like, I could open up, because I'm like, here, guys, this is what I went through, but I knew, like, all that I have to look at is just what those guys think of me, and that's sort of my centering, sort of my grounding. Thought. So, that really helped too.
So was there a second of thought for you at the end there, where you just wanted to kind of ride off into the sunset and not tell the story you've been telling the past week, or like, because you were not in a good headspace at the end, obviously, so that makes this even more impressive, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's such a funny one, because, like, at the moment, obviously, I just needed to get off. I totally forgot that I was on a show. Like, I didn't think that I would have to front it. Like, I just wasn't thinking straight. That I was like, okay, I just got to put my hand up, tell them that I'm struggling, and get off, and then sort myself out. I didn't really think, like, oh, hang on, I'm going to be shown on the episode, and I'm going to have to do media and do all that about it. So I guess at the start it was just like, just don't even. I wasn't thinking. That's how I got there. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really thinking of anything. I just had to get out, and obviously, then when I was out, I was like, okay, hang on a minute. I'm gonna have to go through my episode. I'm gonna have to do interviews. And then the more and more I got help, and the more I sort of understood it, I was like, the more I was like, I need to tell my story. I need to tell the truth.
Yep.
So it just sort of grew as I got better and learned more about mental fitness.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Sounds like your wife has been the MVP of your journey. Yeah,
she's gutsy. Like, it's a long time. It was a 6 month sort of time from when I first went down. Obviously, 4 of those months were great, really good. It was sort of the tail end of it, where it sort of got, worse and worse. And then the last 2 weeks was just how she handles, like, she got 2 businesses, Alfie, 2-year-old, and just a day-to-day grind, and then dealing with me, like, propping me up from, here when I'm down in Melbourne. There's nights where I had to FaceTime her just so I could go to sleep. And she wasn't saying anything. She was watching Netflix here.
Yeah, wow.
But I just knew that she was there, on FaceTime, and I'd fall asleep. She'd hang up. That was actually probably nightly.
Yeah, wow.
There was nights where I just got home, got away from everyone, grabbed my stuff. We had to put our phones in every morning and then get them in the afternoon. Grab it in the afternoon and just make it to my room, and then just burst into tears and just. I was like, what am I crying for? Like, I don't understand. I got a beautiful wife, healthy kid. I've got there's no financial problems. Like, why am I just crying? And I just those real deep cries too.
Yep.
Yeah. So, she'd have to, prop me out of them things too. So yeah, she's a good one. If you get one like her, then you're set.
I think we both got one of them, don't we?
Got one of them. I think Nathan's got a segment that we do every week, and I'll see. Do you want to do it? The Fits and Fast Five?
The Fits and Fast Five. Yes.
It's just a fast five questions, and it's actually I say sponsored segment, but basically one of our partners at the gym down here on the Northern Beaches, Fitsum, have been a really good support of us, and we basically named this little segment after them. So go for it.
Fits and Fast Five. All right, mate. So it's Fast Five, but you don't have to be fast. Yeah. Who was your childhood hero?
Oh God, childhood hero. Little child was Alf Stewart off Home and Away.
Not in the diner, Alf.
Yeah, like that. I loved Home and Away. That was my biggest thing.
Well, we're from Home and Away. We're from Summer Bay.
We're from down here.
Oh, really? Yeah, so there you go, mate. If you see him walking around, can you tell him that?
All right, we'll go up to the diner tomorrow up at Palm Beach.
Let him know.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Summer Bay is not a real place.
Yeah, is it Palm Beach? Is that it?
Yeah, that's Palmy. It? Yeah. As an adult, who is your hero these days?
My wife.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
What's the favourite thing about Brent Draper for you?
Favourite thing? My beard.
Yeah, I would have said that too.
Up here too, really bad. Really getting thin, but just here staying solid and getting thicker. So
I reckon I could have guessed the beard and I could have guessed his wife, but I would never have got Alf Stewart as his childhood hero. What's the least favourite thing about Brent Draper?
Oh, okay. I'm going to say this is 100%. I get in the door and I undress myself to my room. I never make it. So everything's everywhere. And my wife hates it. Yeah. I get in trouble every time, so I hate it too. But I keep
Yeah, that sounds a bit ADHD to me.
Yeah, it does a bit.
When someone says mental health, what does Brent Draper think?
Now Brent Draper thinks, it is something that, I feel like we've got two things. We've got this vehicle, which is our body, and this driver, which is our, so the vehicle is the body and our physical health, which we all work on so much. And, you got a sore knee, you can just hobble into the doctors and someone will say, oh, you got a sore knee, mate. Oh yeah, we'll talk about it, fine, somehow. And then we've got this driver, which is our mental health. And for some reason, the most important thing, because a car doesn't go very well without the driver. So we've got this most important thing that we just don't want to talk about. And yeah, I just don't understand it.
Tell me, you said what you think now. Before this MasterChef experience, so this is the Fits and Fast 6 all of a sudden.
This is the 6th
what did Brent, before your very personal experience, what did you think mental health was?
So probably like I thought it was just sort of a sales pitch for meditation pitch, or like
Wow.
like it was
Yep.
like, oh, it's such a like a weird thing like this,
Yeah.
it's
Alternate hipster type thing.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 100%. Like do my meditation course, and you'll have this great mental health, and all this sort of stuff, and you're just
Yep.
like, I don't need that. I'm fine. Like I'm
Yep.
fine. I'm good. I'm trucking along in life just fine. But yeah, then you have like for me,
Experience.
especially, you have an experience, and sort of later in my life too, I guess. Like I was like just skimmed through my teens like sweet, like because I was like footy team, but at the same time did a cheerleading. I was a cheerleader because I
Yep.
just like got on with everyone. I was sweet, like
Yeah. I can see
so
that.
yeah, I didn't have this thing, but
Yeah.
I had a cruisy life,
Yeah.
and didn't have any troubles when I was a kid. I had a great family, so to have it later in life, I guess it's just it's a bit different. Like I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that feels to me as like a very common theme, is like you fear what you don't know, and you kind of don't really respect what you don't know. And then I was the same. I was 35 before I kind of had to deal with some demons, and before that I would have just kind of almost laughed at the notion of mental health. Like you
Yeah,
see people post their gym selfies, and like you said, a sore knee, you kind of wear a sore knee as a badge of honor. Why can't
yeah,
you have depression or anxiety and wear that as a badge of honor when you've gotten through the other side of it? And that's what that's exactly what you're doing now.
yeah. And like it's scientifically proven, isn't it? It's like
Yep.
there's just nothing but facts that it's legit a real thing. Like, and we still just can't, especially us men, we can't sort of get it, and we can't sort of openly talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's our kind of there's great guys in this space like Gus Wallen and Steve Gamble from Man Anchor, two of our really strong mentors. But I think us kind of 30-year-old guys have a real responsibility. Like the 20-year-olds and the teenagers, they might not listen to someone kind of 40 and above, but if they see their older brothers or sisters kind of really wearing the hearts on their sleeves, like it's going to just keep changing the narrative, which we kind of love being part of, don't we, Luke?
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
no.
so what's next for Brent? Where to now?
Oh, I'm staying, like I'm just creating content at the moment. Just I'm not too sure with work. I'm not going back to being a tradie, that's for sure. So I'm just like,
Mission
at the
accomplished
moment,
then.
mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So at the moment, I'm just like riding this wave and trying to figure out my pathway, and what that's going to sort of entail. But so yeah, so also, in those dark days, and those, when I thought I had liver disease, I almost had the regret of the dying. Like I almost lived that. You know how they, on the deathbed, they're like,
Yep.
you thought that you just know you lived life wrong. You just that's when everything
All the
important
regrets. Yep.
yeah, I almost had that. Almost lived through that, and like I was like, this we've made this life so stressful. What I love is just adventure with my family, and then all of a sudden to come out the end, I'm like, oh, I'm not dying. I'm fine. Or hang on to that thought and live with that thought. And so 2 weeks or 3 weeks sort of after I got out, I bought a bus, and we're doing it up, and we're traveling around Australia at the end of the year. Just like the wild thornberries sort of get up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And like, I probably wouldn't have done it. I always had that sort of, that'd be great. That'd be great. We all say, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
But that sort of, that going through that bit, and then like feeling it, and then coming out the other end, I'm like, well, we're gonna do it. And I just bought a bus,
Wow.
Sean. Um, So yeah, now I'm sort of working on that. Go around Australia, cook up, produce content. Maybe I don't know what. I've got like the world is my oyster, and I've realised that, and yeah, I'm ready.
Well, we can't wait to follow along with your adventures and see where you end up next. But I'm sure, like talking to you today, I'm sure like you've got a really fun, adventurous life ahead of you that you're not going to waste any opportunities. So, congratulations on basically dealing with this and getting through it and being such an inspiration for so many people out there, especially us.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on, guys, and listening to my story.
Yeah, pleasure.
Unreal. We might have to get Brent on in a few months. I reckon maybe when you're on the road in your van, and we would love to get your wife on because I think she needs to be she needs a bit more kind of not publicity, but she needs to be a little bit out of the shadows, I reckon, and like to hear from her point of view what she dealt with.
Yeah. She actually she sort of dealt with me for so long that when I come home and I got better and better, she sort of stumbled a bit then because sort of how I can just let him go now, and then but she got back on got the train back on the tracks pretty quick, and yeah.
Well,
it was funny how that sort of happened.
Yeah, if your body's the car and your mind is the driver, then she must be the pit crew that we all need. So we're all lucky that we have such good pit crews to help us get through things.
Good
like
analogy.
Mate, that was perfect.
Were you thinking about that for like 8 minutes?
Yeah, I was.
I reckon he was. I could see he had it.
Actually, his wife just called it through.
Yeah, she texted me. So, all right, Brent. Well, thanks so much for coming on again. We'll definitely catch up with you again soon and follow along with everything you do.
Yeah, dude. Truly humbled by this episode and your presence, man. So, yeah, what an inspiration to so many. So we're honoured to have you on to tell a bit more about your story. So thank you, legend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll chat to you soon.
See you, dude.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good.